You are now tuned into Brave Conversations.
Good morning, everybody. Today I'm chatting to Courtney Chappell, also known as Court GPT, aka, and we're chatting all about artificial intelligence and how that is a partner to the creative process, right? So everybody's panicking and fretting about what AI is going to do, how it's going to take jobs. So you've obviously journeyed and you've been able to figure this thing out. So I'm hoping to get into your head today a little bit about that, if that's okay.
Awesome.
Cool. So how did you get started? How did you start tinkering? Because that's really what it is in the beginning, right?
Sure. So I started playing around with it last year, I think in the middle of last year, after you went to a conference in Singapore.
Yes,
so you sent a whole lot of links to things that were discussed, and we were talking about CFGE and all this stuff. And I was very interested to know, because I've always been so impatient, I think, with getting work out of the system, because I can move quite fast and I want everything around me to move that fast. So I was looking at how I could speed up everything on my side and everyone else's side.
Right.
So that's when I started playing around with it, and I saw that there was a huge amount of opportunity for us as an agency to really dive deeper into it and utilize it every day.
Mm-hmm. And so what irritates you about the traditional process, right? I know you said you're impatient, you're like me.
It's time.
Right? You want to get it done, get it done quickly and over the line.
Absolutely. So I think it's time, and then it's process.
Yeah.
So everything has to follow a certain process that involves multiple people.
Yeah.
So if there's a spelling error or a full stop in the wrong place,
You have to go back and
it's like a week later, then you finally get the artwork out the system.
Yeah.
So if I could find a way where I could make that change super fast, get it done, in and out, then that was my dream.
So you did this on your own, which is also very cool, right? So a lot of people need to be forced to learn and figure it out and try and understand, but you really did this on your own. I think you got a prompt. I came back from Singapore and I said, hey guys, saw this really cool thing, which is, global learning is what we should do. Shared it broadly with the business. Some caught, some didn't, but you definitely did. So how did you get started? How did you think about, this new world that is potentially happening? This like CEOs come back and is yapping about CFGE and your irritation about time and process. How did you get started? Did you choose a tool and just figure it out, or what did you do?
Yes. So I chose ChatGPT. That was the first tool that I hopped onto. And then from there, I did a lot of LinkedIn learning courses.
Okay.
Because I realized that I wasn't getting it right.
Right.
So I was getting a lot of hallucinations from ChatGPT.
What's a hallucination? Tell people what a hallucination is.
So a hallucination is basically made up everything. So you ask for a percentage and it just gives you 86%, for example. So completely made up. The rules don't matter. So I was getting quite frustrated with that. So I did about 26 LinkedIn learning courses that were run by experts in their fields, and it ranged from business owners to creatives to strategists that were all looking at AI in different ways.
Nice.
I also did some that showed the dark side of AI or the scary side of AI, where it's like the ethics and worrying about data sharing and all that, just so I could understand the full breadth of what's going to happen, essentially.
Sure. And what was the scariest thing you learned?
Just our data is just open there for everyone. So you have to be careful about what you put in and what you say on AI. You can't share restricted information from businesses. You've got to be quite careful with that. But other than that, there's nothing scary about AI.
Okay. And so what do you think? You saw the release 2 days ago.
Yes.
With Apple now integrating ChatGPT.
And everyone's losing their minds.
Elon Musk was like, oh my God, if you're going to have an Apple in my business, you're going to have to check your phone in at the door, yada, yada, yada. Do you think is that a natural response? Or do you think we're being a little bit overzealous?
I think it's natural. And we've always, as humans, we've always feared technology and advancement.
Yeah.
So if you think about when we all got cell phones, everyone bought that little sticker that goes on the back of your phone to be careful of radiation. And it was most random light up sticker that would just flash.
I remember that, actually.
And then you weren't allowed to have microwaves in your house.
Yes.
You weren't allowed to look inside the microwave while it was on.
Yeah.
Which I still I'm I need to see if my oats are boiling over the thing.
Don't look.
I think everyone's naturally afraid of technology, but eventually we all adopt it.
Cool.
So it's a very normal reaction.
Okay.
But it's going to become second nature, and everyone's going to be thankful. In 10 years' time, we're going to be happy that Apple incorporated it and It can personalize everything that we need. It collects all our data.
I think the big issue is going to be safety, right? So hopefully the regulation and the rules around protecting people from what they don't know, because people don't actually know what it means to, give your data over freely.
Yeah.
But we also know that if you're getting value, you'll hand over your data freely, right?
Exactly.
Which is what ChatGPT did really well.
Yeah, if you get the discounts that you want, if you get targeted with the right flights when you're talking about it, then you're going to be happy about it. The right songs on Spotify. Spotify's been using AI.
Yeah.
And most people don't realize it.
Correct. But they love it.
But they love it because they're getting targeted with the right songs and new music that they like.
Cool. So let's talk about advertising. Let's talk about how you see kind of AI in its general sense, transforming advertising. How do you think it's all going to play out in the next couple of years, especially in South Africa? I think there's probably a global view and a more local view, but maybe talk about what you think might happen with AI in advertising here.
So I think it's going to bring nothing but good things, obviously. I have to say that as director of AI. But my biggest thing is for the small advertising agencies.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to now tackle bigger clients that would traditionally go to bigger agencies because the bigger clients think, okay, well, we need to put out 100 pamphlets a day. We can only go to the bigger agencies.
Got it.
And now with AI, they can look at the boutique, smaller agencies that are thriving and creative and beautiful, and they can go there and they can get value for everything. They can get stuff outright, personalized content that's driven by data insights, which is awesome.
It's really, really cool. And do you think from that perspective, creativity becomes more or less valuable? Because, there's one theory that says the more data you feed into an LLM or ChatGPT or whatever it may be, the smarter it gets. And at some point, do you think that level of intellect from a machine perspective, from a computer perspective, will ever overshadow ours? No.
You will always need human. So I think you need to use it hand in hand. So the human needs to be using AI correctly to maximize their own output. So in the past, creatives would spend hours putting together the perfect image. If they couldn't go do a shoot, they would need to take 26 different Getty images, crop them, put them together, build it. Now with a platform like Midjourney, you can create anything that you imagine. So you as the creative and as the human can still imagine whatever you want creatively and then use AI to bring that to life, which is amazing.
And that's difficult to copy. Imagination, I mean, one could argue hallucination is a form of imagination.
100%. Absolutely.
All right. But is it a directed form? So if you can hallucinate towards a problem, then maybe AI will catch up one day.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Is that ability to imagine, I think, is really what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. And so you've mentioned Midjourney. You've mentioned ChatGPT. What other tools do you have in your little arsenal?
So those are the two primary ones. I think I play around with a lot, and I always say, where there's a will, there is an AI program that can solve anything. So the other day I was saying earlier, I downloaded a software, an AI software that can make a low-res image high-res.
Oh, really?
So it's something that I'll use maybe once or twice, but it's there on my computer and I've got it. I'm really excited to see what Sora can bring in. Yeah. I think that's going to be
Everybody's
amazing.
like panicking about that, hey?
So I think it's twofold. So it could be really, really good because there's nothing like it. I mean, I've tried to use Runway VL, which is limiting. So having a text to video is going to be really good.
Wow.
But it's the same company that did DALL-E, and DALL-E is...
Whatever happened to DALL-E? Did they bomb? What happened?
So it's linked to Copilot and your ChatGPT,
right.
And I think a little bit of Stable Diffusion, but it's just not good enough.
Really?
It's still very cartoony, where you try and get these hyper-realistic images where people can't tell the difference between a real person and an AI person.
Yes.
So Midjourney's just nudged them out the way, essentially.
Interesting. Hey?
Yeah.
And for me, what I find fascinating is like the margins of error. So with the wrong decision in the AI game, for lack of a better word, you could find yourself very quickly being in the fringes of like all the action, right? Because DALL-E at some stage was looking promising.
Yeah, it was
some stage
great.
It was like, oh my goodness, DALL-E, la 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 la.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, all of a sudden, the expectation is now higher. Like, this is too cartoony.
Yeah.
Whereas like a week ago, oh great, amazing cartoons, and that happened so quickly.
Yes.
And so my question next is, when you've picked up on the learnings, you've done 20 courses, you've been experimenting with live campaigns. What has been the hardest thing for you to learn?
I think not to sound like a robot.
Okay.
Yeah. So to make sure that the content that comes out is firstly accurate, and it doesn't sound like AI.
Right.
We've got to still add a human touch, but because we're moving so fast, you might not be able to fix every single word or every single sentence.
Got it.
So it's just crafting the prompts to make it sound more human and.
Got it. So you fix that in the prompting, not in the reviewing. Interesting.
It would take too long
to review, right?
Yeah. So we did, like, for example, a 37-page document for one of our clients that had press releases, different social media posts. So to go now and manually edit every single page or word or whatever it is would take us way too long.
Interesting. And what references do you use when you're trying to make it sound more human, or do you literally just prompt, say this in a more human way?
Yeah, it's that straightforward. It is. Use South African English. Can you? Yeah. So it's like there's a few keywords that we just make sure to throw in to try and bring out a more human side. I think when we're prompting for businesses that aren't emotive, then it's easier because we can pick up on tone. And like ChatGPT and Copilot, for example, can reference tone. So you can say, reference the tone from these social media posts and stay with that.
Nice.
So then with that prompt crafting, we can get closer to where we need to be.
Nice. And do you think the output is getting more or less nuanced on country, culture, location, etc., or do you have to be strongly aware of that when you prompt?
Yeah, we have to be very aware of it.
Okay.
I think it's still struggling with the nuances in South Africa. Let's say, for example, when we ask it to include vernac words and stuff like that, it just completely bombs it.
I remember we did that thing. It came with the Sangoma Stockfell or something.
Exactly. So it's like funny. Weird cultural things that they bring in that aren't relevant to what we're saying. So when it comes to things like that, if we have good examples, we include it in our prompt.
Yeah.
If not, then we bring in the human element to try add that level of vernac, for example, or culture.
And my thinking also is that I think we've got fairly incomplete data sets, in Africa. So like we don't have like a repository of cultural medicinal references that something AI could read and understand, if that makes sense. So it probably then just pulls stuff that it sees versus the context that you'd need.
Absolutely.
So data still becomes important, I suppose, in the back end.
100%. So data is one of the biggest things that we rely on in AI. So it drives everything.
Right.
Who's doing what, how they're interacting with it, what they want to hear and see. Because ultimately with advertising, we are here to sell.
Absolutely.
So we need to know what you're looking for so that we can speak to you at that specific moment in the way that you like to be spoken to.
Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about how this practically works inside a business or an agency in our case, right? Because you're shifting processes, you're shifting people's way of thinking, and you're asking them to fundamentally do something that took X amount of time in X amount of time.
Yeah.
What has your reflection been on, because you've worked in traditional agencies, you worked in the big, global traditional agencies, you've worked with us for a while in a manual sense, now you're in this world. I'd be very interested in your reflection kind of across the spectrum, potentially how it's still being done in many big global organizations, how we've kind of shifted a little bit, and where we find ourselves now, and how teams are using or not using this, in our context.
Yeah. So I think the biggest adopters have been client service. So they run on time, which is one of the biggest things that they have to do. Client expects something at a certain time.
Yeah.
They need to get it done.
Yeah.
So the faster that they can get a brief in the system or a scope of work to clients, the better, because then it can be done as per the ridiculous timelines that we are now given for everything.
So they are using it, contrary to popular belief.
Contrary to popular belief, client service are the primary adopters of AI.
Oh, excellent.
So they're using ChatGPT for briefings
Nice.
to make sure that they're getting all the information that the creatives need.
Cool.
With the creatives, I think what they have now started doing from design specifically is getting the images that they want faster.
Okay.
Which I did speak about it earlier, but instead of going and getting a whole lot of images and cropping and photoshopping and moving and lighting and all that, they're able to get what they want from Midjourney fast.
Got it.
And then make changes to that Midjourney image.
Got it.
So where they were taking 6, 7, 8 hours for one layout, they're doing it a lot faster.
Okay.
So we've got a junior creative who's been working side by side with me. Who's absolutely amazing. And she is getting layouts done in 30 minutes now.
Excellent.
So she's getting faster and faster every day. And it's amazing to see her adopting it and utilizing it.
Excellent. And strategy? I'm sure they're also pretty good adopters.
Yes. Strategy are insane.
They're like ninjas, right?
Yes. So they are like ninjas. They use just about every possible text to output platform that's out there from AI for like Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT, everything. And it's helping them with their research. So instead of them having to go and read multiple articles that would take them days and weeks, they can get articles sent to them in minutes. And with keywords pulled out, key information pulled out. And because we've got such a good strategy template that we utilize, which is the next brave action, we're able to craft prompts that can pull information that is relevant to our strategy flow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. Yeah. All right. So what's most exciting about you? What's coming up in the horizon? Now, we've worked on some clients.
Yes.
We've been able to output some stuff. Maybe if you can just describe some of the projects, maybe not in like super detail, but some of the projects that have gone through this process that you've obviously championed. And then what do you think is exciting about stuff that we potentially will be doing?
Awesome. So one of our biggest campaigns that we went live with, or our first big campaign, was for Nedbank. So for Africa Month, and did a press release and everything, felt quite famous. So we did that in 19 days, and it was full from strategy to creative to rollout. We created over 60 different assets.
Wow.
That was
in 19
all
days.
Done in 19 days. That
Amazing.
was all done through AI. So we had very limited human interaction. We had our group chief creative officer who helped us with the creative concept or the big idea. But other than that, everything was AI run.
Amazing.
All our images are done through Midjourney. All the copy, post copy, everything. And what was amazing about it is because we were speaking to the whole of Africa, we don't have those nuances for the different countries. We don't know what to say and how to say it. So it was able to pull data from around Africa to make sure that we were speaking the right language, had the right imagery that was involved. So it was great. And I mean, 19 days for a full campaign.
A Pan-African campaign.
Pan-African campaign is remarkable. And that included reverts. It included client feedback.
Sure.
And their reviewing on their side and their legal team going through it and all that. So it's amazing.
So let's talk about clients for a second. How are they taking to AI and the technology? Are they for it, pro? Are they against it? Or do you have like a mixed bag?
Mixed bag. So some are very for it.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that we do have to tell our clients is that we're not putting confidential information on any of our AI platforms. So we're very clear with when we get a brief, any information that's got sales data or any company information, we keep it off. If it's not available on their website or on their social platforms, it's not put in through AI. So that's one of the biggest things. And once we do explain that, then they're happy. I've had one or two that were like, can you rather just have the humans do it? And then I explain the timelines and they're like, okay, can you do
or
both?
Not. Let's test and see.
So, maybe. So we also have had some clients that have gone from using us in the traditional sense to now shifting towards putting briefs through us to get them out faster. With one of our clients gave a second second time approvals. So we did one revert for them and it was approved, which is amazing. And that was for a full social media campaign.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. And are there specific sectors or industries that you think will take to it more than others? Or do you think it's quite
quite
generic?
It's very generic. I think anyone can do it. I think any client, any industry can use AI for their advertising, which is really cool. It's adaptable.
And are there any other campaigns outside of the ones that you've done, obviously, that you think are pretty cool from an AI perspective that you might have seen?
Only mine.
Yeah.
I know that Coke has done some amazing stuff.
Yes.
So they did the Coca-Cola flavor using
I see.
AI. So they used it to come up with their own formula and that.
Yes.
So it was really cool.
Under Armour also did something, didn't they?
Yes.
They did like an AI.
They did an ad, which was really, really nice.
Yeah.
It looked
quite
very,
emotive.
very cool and sleek. And it was super, inspiring to watch. And that's something that you would watch and not think, oh, that must be AI.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we thought, oh, my word, that would have taken a year to do traditionally.
Absolutely. It's interesting. I was speaking to the guys from the Luries the other day, asking them about their point of view on, AI and all that stuff. And like all things, new technology means everyone panics. So you're trying to get everybody that's entering Luries to like disclaim that they're using AI. And I'm like, but, it's like a few years ago, it's like asking someone to say, I used Adobe to create their, it's really.
I used Photoshop, sorry.
You get what I'm saying? It's like it's going to become a moot point. But in the progression of time, it's something that you have to do to make people comfortable. And so I think it's going to be very soon where we start to see AI campaigns winning awards.
Yes.
And when that happens, I think it'll be very interesting because when you do the comparison, there's one thing from a process perspective, but there's another from an output point of view.
Absolutely.
I think it'll be indistinguishable, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
All right. So to end off, any tips you would give detractors, especially guys that are sitting there going, I'm not so sure, it's not going to work. On what you've learned and potentially what you're excited about happening with AI and advertising going forward.
Sure. I think the biggest thing is don't be scared. I think that's the number one thing. If you were that person that had the little sticker on the back of your phone, you'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
Embrace it. Embrace AI.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is people are scared that it's going to take their jobs.
Yeah.
But if you don't adopt it, then yes, 100%, the company will find someone that is using AI effectively.
Yeah.
So use it and use it to your advantage in everything you do.
Yeah, I love that. I think there was a quote posted in our Exco group where someone said, it's unlikely that AI will take your job, but someone that uses AI better than you will likely take your job.
Yeah,
so that's probably the important thing. So skill yourself up, basically.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Go on LinkedIn Learning. Amazing platform.
And get all the information, right?
Watch all the videos.
Excelente. All right. Thank you, Courtney.
Cool,
that was
much.
brief and easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was cool.
keep watching, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Be sure to tune into the next episode of Brave Conversations.